Right. Well, we are here talking to Bryony Botha, who is coming. Are you in Cambridge, or are you in Auckland, or are you in some other part of the world?
I am in Hamilton.
Oh, you're in Hamilton. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, well, it's awesome to be chatting to you this morning, Bryony. Many of you will know as cyclists, no doubt, around Bryony's amazing experience at such a young age. Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, few medals kicking about, although we can't see them, so obviously they're in a hidden corner of the house. But how's it all going? How's your training, and what does life look like at the moment for you with 2 weeks to go until Lake Taupō Cycle Challenge?
It's actually a little bit panicky, just because I just came back from holiday last week. So I had 2 weeks in Bali after like a pretty big year at the Olympics and then World Champs. So yeah, had a bit of downtime, which was really nice. And I've been back into training now for a week. So we've got a couple of weeks to go before Lake Taupō. So I am panic training at the moment, trying to make sure that I can actually get around the lake. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing at the moment, and also doing an internship with Velobike, so just working on some of their social media stuff for part of my marketing degree.
Fantastic. It sounds kind of like a nice opportunity to have had a bit of a break, get back on the bike and do some work as well. So tell me about when you are having that downtime. So obviously you've had a pretty big year. Do you kind of switch off from thinking about biking at all, or are you still thinking about nutrition and training of some description just to keep that fitness level up?
When I was on holiday in Bali, I definitely just disconnected completely. Like, I tried to not look at anything cycling related, tried to not talk to anybody cycling related, which was really nice because I haven't had that for quite a few years. But now since I've been back, I love sport so much, and so I'm just more than happy to get back into it, start planning for next year and so on. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Cycle Challenge in a couple of weeks. I kind of know what you mean about this sort of last minute training, although for different reasons. Hopefully there's not too many people that are watching or listening thinking, oh my goodness, I'm in the same boat. But for you, sort of a professional athlete, what does that look like? You've obviously got a base level of fitness, even though you've had a few weeks of not thinking about it. How does that training differ to your normal training schedule?
Well, I'm not doing any track at the moment, so all my training is purely road. And I get into the gym twice a week as well, just to start building back a bit of strength. This first week, training has just been trying to get road, trying to make sure that I can get through like a 3-hour ride or a 4-hour ride. And now next week coming up, I'll probably start bringing in a few efforts and hitting a bit of like higher power targets for an extended period of time, and just making sure that I can do that for I guess like what Taupō would be like, racing in the bunch, and hitting those higher power ends going up the hills, and if there's any attacks or anything like that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing next week.
So it sounds like you're taking it quite seriously. Let's just look backwards a little bit to last year when you took part. How did the event go for you?
It was really good. I actually was quite surprised at how I went, because my dad, he had done it in 4 hours 30 1 year, and so I really wanted to beat him. And unfortunately I didn't quite beat him. I was 2 minutes slower than his best time.
Oh,
so
no.
I really wanted. So I'm quite serious about this because I need to beat him.
Is that the motivation? Is it having that kind of target? Of your dad's time and wanting to beat, I'm assuming, your time from last year, or is there more to it than that?
Oh, well, like, we're quite competitive, so yeah, I wanted to, and yeah, I think it's always been like a good goal for me to do that. I always want to be better than what I've done previously, and so that's my best time, so I want to be better than that this time.
Yeah. So for those of us who haven't done Around the Lake, maybe we've done other events, what's it like for you as a professional cyclist And what do you think that might be for someone who maybe is just wanting to tick the box and say, yep, I've done this amazing achievement and I've managed to ride around the lake?
Well, I think even if you're competitive or if you're not competitive, it's still just such a cool event because I think it's so community focused. So even though I guess I'm racing it and I'm kind of wanting to take it a bit more seriously, you're still having like fun chats in the bunch with people that you've never met before. And it's just a really cool environment to be a part of. And you're biking past people who have maybe like on their second or third time around the lake as well, which is so inspiring to see. So yeah, every time people ride past them, everyone's like, yeah, like good job, keep going. Like it's just a really cool community event.
What was the highlight for you last year?
Oh, it's such a hard one. I think I actually finished the race and had never gone I'd never ridden further than 180 k's before. So I finished the ride and I was at 160 and I thought, oh, maybe I just keep riding. So I ended up riding back and then turned around again at 20 k's and started riding back in with some other people. So I thought that was actually quite cool and just having a bit of a chat with them and it's a bit more casual, I guess, as the pace decreases. But yeah, I think just like the highlight is just meeting new people and yeah, just getting a chat with everyone around New Zealand and people who have flown in from different countries and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. And being from Taupo, I know it's something that's always been on the calendar forever. And lots of people volunteering, they often say the same thing, even if you're not participating, just kind of the vibe in town is pretty special. So we talked a little bit about your training and your kind of goal is to beat your dad's time and beat your time from last year. What other goals have you got and what are you thinking about when you're doing that training?
Probably have is making sure that I get my nutrition right. So sometimes it can be easy to forget to eat or forget to drink when you're riding in a bunch or if you're racing. Sometimes I feel quite stressed to I guess take a moment to actually eat properly. So that's what has been a goal for me this time, to make sure that I can get that right and make sure that I'm keeping an eye on the clock, making sure I eat every half an hour. Just to make sure that I still got the energy to get through the rest of the ride.
So for you, eating every half an hour, what does that look like? Are you taking gels or have you got something more substantial? And what about sort of your liquid-based nutrition? Is that something that you try and focus on as well?
Yeah. So just making sure that I am consistently drinking, and I usually have electrolytes in those water bottles as well. And then during a race, I probably have I have a big breakfast beforehand, so I'll start eating about an hour into the ride, and then from then I'll eat every half an hour, and that will be just I guess whatever I feel like or whatever I can get down quickly. So that might be a muesli bar, or it might be a gel, depending on how I'm feeling, or if I know that there's a big climb coming up in 5 or 10 kilometers, I'll take a gel to make sure that I can get ready for that, or even after the climb, I'll make sure that I have some more food to make sure that I've recovered from that big effort. So yeah, it's just a lot of planning, I guess, that goes into that nutrition, and making sure that you have got more than you need rather than less.
So that's really interesting. You talk there about preparing for a big climb. How much work are you doing thinking about the actual route and looking at those elevation profiles and those sorts of things before you're actually riding? Is that something that you're doing now?
Well, I think I've done Taupō a few times now, so I kind of know what to expect. But I will have a look at the route again leading up to the ride, just to make sure that I've got all those bits that I need to prepare for that course.
It's probably some good advice for people who maybe don't know. I don't know about you, but I use Strava a lot to look where are those big hills, but I never really think about the whole eating thing so much. So good advice there. Obviously you do a lot of track work and you're not doing that at the moment. Is your sort of mental game, we're just talking about eating and thinking about things quite a lot as you're riding. Is it as much of a mental game when you're on the track versus on the road?
same but a little bit different. Obviously track is quite high intensity. You can't eat on the track either, so you have to make sure that you're getting all those things right while you're off the track. So for me, if I was heading up for like a medicine or something like that, I'd make sure that I have kind of over eaten a little bit, or just had like an extra amount of like glucose or sugars to make sure that I can get through that 30k event. But for like a team pursuit, maybe it won't be that much because it's such a short race. So I might just have like a gel or a bar about an hour before the ride, because I don't want to feel like I'm overly full, or if I don't want to feel like I'm a bit sick. So yeah, it's different depending on the type of track race.
Have you got any advice for people who might not have done as much cycling as you? Most people probably, who, you know, you're saying about eating regularly, and I know for some people that they might not think to eat, or they might not feel hungry. Have you got any advice for people who might be tackling Round the Lake for the first time, or haven't done it very often, around just how they can get that food in, or little alerts or reminders that they could use to help them with that?
Yeah. So I know that it can be quite hard to eat, especially when you don't want to. A lot of the time when I'm training, I make myself eat an hour or an hour and a half into it, even though I don't want to, but I know that I'm gonna if I don't. But that's actually something that you need to train. Like, you have to train your stomach to, I guess, eat those foods, or train it to eat, even though you don't necessarily want to. And I know on a Garmin you can even set a little reminder for yourself to eat something. So that's also something that you could do. And also sometimes I feel like for me, I was saying that I feel a little bit stressed sometimes in a bunch eating. But you can just stop on the side of the road and take some time to eat. Like, I'll do that during a training ride. I'll just go and fill up my bottles, and then I'll just take a minute, eat some food, and then carry on with the rest of my ride. So that is something that you can do. It's not going to be the end of the world if you have to stop for a bit. And also a good time to stretch and just make sure that you're getting a bit more water in and stuff like that.
You talk there about being stressed or thinking about food and some of the dynamics of road riding. Have you got any thoughts for people who aren't super experienced around, riding in packs, or how to operate that when they're kind of riding along and maybe a pack of cyclists approaches them, or they're doing really well and they join on the back of a pack? Any thoughts on or advice for people around how to kind of manage that in the event?
I think you just have to give yourself a bit of space. Like, if you're not super confident riding on the wheel, like, don't ride super close. Just like give yourself a space of like a wheel or something like that, or even just, if you want to sit on the back of a bunch, it's absolutely fine as well. You just give yourself some space off the back. You're still going to be getting the draft. So I think just, if you're not super confident, just give yourself a bit of space, and just try and relax. I just have to tell myself that sometimes. Try and relax.
You talked earlier about being quite competitive. Is it a bit of are you talking to yourself quite a bit when you're doing an event, especially something like this, when you're on the road and you've got a bit of extra time, where you're actually thinking about, I've got to eat, actually don't stress about getting to the front of this pack, actually just kind of sit back and relax a little bit more than you would if you're on the track?
Yeah, I think so. There's lots of little cues that I guess give myself during the ride, and it sounds like a lot of like talking to yourself, and that sounds a bit stressful, but it's it does actually help. It's not added stress or anything like that.
Yeah, interesting. Hey, so thinking about like Taupō Cycle Challenge going around the lake, people talk about a lot of the big hills, Hātepe Hill, I think it's Waihaha Hill. When you're thinking about that kind of mental preparation, and I know it's easy to be like, oh, here comes that big old hill. Have you got any advice for people around maybe thinking about it differently, so it's just like any other part of the course? It's not something that they're dreading or not looking forward to? Everyone loves hills.
I guess if you think about it in little chunks, it kind of breaks it down a bit. So like the hills, they're big, but they're not nothing that like if someone else can do it, like, you can do it too. Like, there's so many people that do Lake Taupō and they actually, you know, they get over the hill easy enough. So if everyone else can do it, so can you. And if you break down a little bit, like, okay, you know, I just have to get to this tree, and then we'll have a look and see what, how much distance it is to go. Like, just try and break it down, make it a bit easier for yourself, and try not to think about it too much.
What about the weather? So some days are going to be windy. An event like this, you're going to have a potentially headwind one way and a tailwind the other. We're not going to know what the weather's going to be like probably until a few days out. But how do you approach thinking about temperature or clothing, layers, that sort of thing? What's your thought process around that, or what's your advice for people who might be going, oh my goodness, it's going to be freezing cold, or it might be roasting hot?
Well, something that my dad always used to say to me is that there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad choice in clothing. So no matter where you're coming from in New Zealand, I'd say prepare for anything. Could be raining, could be really hot, could be really cold. So I think just, you know, check the weather before you start the ride. I like to look at like how long the ride will take me. So like, say 4 hours, and what is the weather going to be like in 4 hours time? So like, do I need to put a bit more clothes on in the beginning of the ride, and then have some layers that I can actually take off and like put in my pocket, because I know it's going to get 5 or 10 degrees warmer by the time I'm coming into the finish. So those are the kind of things that you should probably think about coming into the event.
Cool. Always good advice. It's one thing I know a lot of people say to me, they struggle to stay warm or they get too hot, and how do you plan for that over a kind of a longer event? Fast forwarding a little bit to race day or event day, but it sounds like race day for you, racing against the clock more than anything. You talked about having a really big breakfast to start off with, but sort of what does it look like? You'll come to town, I'm assuming, the day before. What does that preparation look like for an event like this?
Well, I'm actually working with Harraways at the expo. So I'll be doing that. And then I'll probably just go and put my feet up, watch some Netflix for the night, have a good dinner. And in the morning, I'll wake up and have breakfast and a coffee. So usually my breakfast will be a bowl of oats with some granola, and maybe add some like peanut butter or honey for a little bit extra.
Cool. And you just mentioned there around sort of chilling out and watching a bit of Netflix. How much are you planning your downtime in the next couple of weeks?
I'm not really planning a lot of downtime. I feel like I've been quite busy lately. But yeah, you know, I think it might not be the ideal downtime, but just making sure that you can put your feet up and be a bit horizontal for a bit. Yeah.
It's always a treat. Then after the event, what does it look like for you? What are you training for? What are you preparing for?
Yeah, after the event, I am just going to take the summer to, I guess, again, increase my fitness. So I'm not doing any racing for the rest of the year, which would be quite nice, just to get into a bit of a good routine of training. And then next year is not really a big year for me. I've just got a few track races that I'll be doing. Hopefully Oceania Champs, track nationals, national as well. Some track carnivals as well. Hopefully do some races on the road. I don't know where that's going to be. It could be America, it could be Europe. And then there's track world champs in Chile next year, which I'd like to go to, but that's all depending on qualifications and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And you mentioned before that you doing a marketing degree. I think it wasn't doing a little bit of work. How are you are you working full-time, part-time and training, or what does that look like for 2025 for you?
Yeah, so my internship is done through High Performance Sport New Zealand. It's part of a scholarship where they go and they find an internship for you. So part one of my internship is with Velo Bike, and so I'm doing the social media stuff with them at the moment, which has been really cool. And then next year I'm doing an internship with Basketball New Zealand. So I'm just helping their marketing team promote the Tall Blacks home game. So that would be it's going to be quite exciting. But yeah, I'm working at the moment about 6 to 7 hours a day. So not quite full time, but not quite part time. Just trying to fit it in where I can. And
yeah, it sounds pretty full on, and I know you've had some time off recently, which is obviously really, really well deserved. But a lot of people who will be watching or training for Lake Taupō Cycle Challenge will be working as well. Have you got any advice to them around that kind of time management and getting that balance of the rest that you talked about, training, but also working and maybe looking after family and kids and that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, I think it is important to plan it. And for me, what I'll do is I'll wake up in the morning. I might go. I'm doing a little bit of running at the moment actually as well. So I might go for like 5K run in the morning, and I'll drive into work and I'll go for a ride after work. But I'll leave my car at the velodrome, and I'll go for a ride for 2 or 3 hours and then come home. And then the next morning I'll wake up early and I'll bike into work. So it's like using that time. So I could be driving in for half an hour to work, but instead I'm kind of tackling two birds with one stone, and I'm biking into work. So I'm getting an extra like 45 minutes or an hour on the bike instead of having to drive in. So it's kind of making use of that time in a bit more efficient way.
It sounds like you need to be very organized in your life, Bryony.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Hey, well, it's been great chatting. Lake Taupō Cycle Challenge, obviously, in just shy of 2 weeks, 30th of November. Have you got any sort of last tips or tricks or advice for those, probably those people who are doing Round the Lake, but maybe cyclists such as myself who'd love as much advice as possible, who are doing some of the other, say, mountain biking or gravel ride events?
I don't really know too much about the gravel riding or mountain biking events, but I think just, yeah, to make sure that you've got everything planned for the day, your clothing, your food, even for afterwards, like what you're gonna eat. Anything, make the most of everything that it has to offer. Like, come to the expo, say hi to me. Just enjoy it and hang around, talk to people, and yeah, just have some fun.
Awesome. Now we're going to get it on the record. What is your time prediction for you around the lake, Bryony?
Oh my God, don't get that on the record.
You said earlier, you said a 4-hour ride. So obviously you don't have to give us an exact time, but you're wanting to beat your dad, that 4 hours 28, I think it was.
Yeah. Okay, let's say 4 hours 25.
Oh, good on you. We'll hope for calm, sunny, beautiful weather for you, and I'm sure that you will achieve it like everyone else will achieve their goals too. I'm in awe of anyone who does that around the lake, because the thin tires on a road bike and I are not friends. I much prefer a fat one. So now, Lake Taupō Cycle Challenge, you said, Bryony, you've done it a few times. I guess we're wishing best of luck to everyone who is tackling the challenge in 2 weeks' time. Good luck, Bryony. Thanks so much for chatting to us and for your tips and tricks. There's some absolute beauties in there. I'm going to think of you when I'm riding 100 Ks off-road. Eat every half an hour. So I'll have a little Bryony Botha trying to force me to eat something when I really don't want to. So thanks so much for your time, and good luck for Cycle Challenge. We'll see you there.
Thanks.
See
you there.